We measure the sport to the thousandth of a second. The lights, there's no gray area. You're either on it or you're off it. I think Bryan has the ability to get himself into that state of unconscious functioning, and to me, that's a direct tie back to the gaming.
I've been doing this for 14 years now, autocrossing. The vast majority of autocrossers would love to move on to pro racing, and yet I still come back to autocross, you know, because I love doing it. The first time I ever drove any car in anger was, I was 18, and I discovered there was an autocross chapter in Fresno where I live. I actually convinced my parents to let me use their Toyota Camry for their first autocross because I didn't have a car, and it was cool. I was hooked.
What I think makes the sport really unique is that it's just you. There's somebody else that you're competing against, there's other people in your class, but ultimately you're the only person on your course. It's straight up, how fast can you go?
What's so fun to me about the pro solo format is the drag strip start, and just that launch and the excitement and adrenaline that creates is really, you know, it's really pretty fun.
You know, you got that heart-pounding sensation, and it's such a challenge, you know, to pick that line, you know, break in correctly. It's absolutely a rush.
How's it going, Bryan?
Good, man.
Wasn't too good of a rip, but sorry.
That's all right.
The thing that makes Bryan unique is that he appeared in the sport with more hours of steering wheel time than anybody had ever appeared in the sport with before.
My previous job was an auto parts delivery driver for a car dealership. I lost my job in, I think it was April, and then I think it was like a year and a half later, if I remember right, that I started entering GT Academy. GT Academy is put on by Nissan and Sony PlayStation, and it's a way to find racing talent using Gran Turismo 5. I've always been pretty good at racing games. When Gran Turismo 1 came out, and that's when I really started to realize that I was pretty quick. And so I decided to put all my effort into it because it was my dream. And if I did the best I could do and didn't make it, that's one thing. But if I didn't try my best and I didn't make it, I would always wonder. The virtual competition was basically, it was a week or 2 weeks long to set your best time. I wasn't in the top 32 yet. And then a countdown appeared on the screen for the last hour. So the pressure was definitely on, and I needed to improve. And I finally improved on one track and got in. And it was more just relief than anything else. There were about 53,000 people that year, and I actually ended up being the top qualifier in the US for that year. So I was pretty proud of that.
I've been out of work for a little while, and so I've been kind of thinking about what am I going to do with the rest of my life. And so this week is going to determine if I can change the rest of my life.
My first race in a real car was the finals in the GT Academy at the end of the week at Silverstone, which is an amazing track. I'd qualified on the pole, so I led from the start, made a small mistake on about the third or fourth lap, and got past, moved back into second place, and then about a lap later, I repassed for the lead and never looked back.
Obviously, through GT Academy, Bryan's had some really amazing opportunities to get involved in professional motorsports. He did the 24-hour race in Dubai, and then here in the States, he's doing some competition at the Nissan 370Z. But we still see him out here. And I think part of that is because of the community.
It's like a big family. Everybody is pulling for everybody else to do well. You know, everybody wants to win, but they're always happy to see their competitors do well at the same time.
I've seen people that swap out tires just right off their car. You need something a little bit stickier today, here you go.
For the most part, there's a few people that have some sponsors, but you're paying for this out of your own wallet. I think you can have empathy with that other guy. When something breaks, that could be you.
A couple years ago at Nationals, we had a hub failure on the car that I was competing in, and the rear wheel actually folded under the car. My #1 rival at that event, the guy I wanted to beat more than anybody else, first thing he did was ran to the back of the paddock and brought a box of parts And 17 minutes after the car broke, we were back together and sitting on the start line ready to go. That just doesn't happen in other forms of motorsports.
A lot of it's competing against yourself, to improve your track times as well as improve your abilities.
This weekend I finished 9th out of 21, but I'm happy for the guys that won because they're cool and they help me out sometimes and I'll help them out if they need it. It's a great bunch of people.
Bryan, he's one of the few people that you compete against, and after you talk to him for a while, even though you'd like to win, you want him to win more than you.
Bryan's a very humble, down-to-earth guy, but he's a part of our community, and he's somebody in our community that's going out and excelling.
Professional racing is a very money-driven sport. So for somebody who didn't have the opportunities growing up, playing the games, as GT Academy is now proving, is kind of an alternate backdoor way into motorsports. I think it's probably inspirational for some of them, you know, to see that somebody can come from just autocrossing and playing video games to become a professional racer. It's not a lot of people have that opportunity to make that leap, and I'm very fortunate to be one of them.